they should not focus on President Museveni. They should organize themselves, go to the grassroots and mobilize and put structures in place. Because if we are going for an election and you cannot present a candidate in every constituency, you already have problems.
Let me ask you, Honorable Minister, if a political party on the opposition came out now to suggest that they want to carry out a number of activities, recruit members, open up offices, will you really allow them to do so?
Oh yes, because
how come we have seen
right
a
now
different thing in the recent past?
Yeah, this time they have iPod where they can go and discuss all those issues, and they lay down their roadmaps and they move around. But also this issue of Dr. Yusuf always thinking President Museveni's age, then he starts demeaning him. It's not good. President Museveni, even with his age, might be wiser than even some of these young people, because he's still strong, he's still ruling this country, he's leading us well. But you know, the way he talks about him is as if he's incapacitated. I don't like that.
Yusuf,
Kenneth, let me
just give you a small story about age so that we have this conversation.
Let's allow you.
You know, in Kenya, we used to have a president called Jomo Kenyatta. And this man was called Mzee. In fact, he's the origin of calling politicians and big people Mzee. And this man had his people like Njonjo and other people who talked for him. Every time somebody would complain about his age, people got jittered and said, why do you talk about somebody who is very bright for this country, Mau Mau founder, and so many other issues? He had been advised that every time he goes to Mombasa for some holiday, and somebody passed in parliament that it was outlawed to talk about the age of the president. And as they were discussing that, out there people are murmuring that the president had died. And it took a long time to announce. In fact, the vice president had moved to Nakuru. It was very difficult to announce the death of the president, because people thought that this man cannot die.
He was immortal.
He's not old. He's very wise. So I don't see any problem of somebody saying that because of somebody's age may not be able to do A, B, C, D. For those who are still arguing, you need to look at the health and the state of President Salva Kiir in South Sudan.
All right, maybe I'll also say this. President Yoweri Museveni has also, not so long ago, told us that very soon he will be going to heaven and he will leave us here if we are not serious with our country.
Yes, but that one shouldn't, his age, everybody ages, people age differently. And you should know that. I might even be older than you, but when you see me, they think you think I'm younger than you. Everybody ages differently, and therefore you may not compare.
Meters now.
I will beat you thoroughly well. I will beat you thoroughly well, and let me tell you, I'm older than you, and you may not accept.
Sure, you can't beat me.
I will beat you pants down.
Minister, I bet.
But
Just give me a date.
you cannot start comparing aging. Everybody ages differently, and therefore the way Jomo Kenyatta aged is not the way President Museveni aged. But that's not the issue. Let us respect these leaders, and if you are going into any competition, go and look for votes. Don't think about President Museveni per se. Go and look for what? For your votes, and you can defeat him if you organize properly. Because if Bobby Wine can get over 2 million votes, he can even get 4 million if he organizes properly. And that is it. But also, the Supreme Court talked about the healing process. And the healing process will also require dialogue. I think that's where we should really go. And that's why I told you, the elections will not end at court cases or court ruling. The process should go beyond court ruling. And me, I believe we need dialogue. And that's why I told you from the beginning that there are some issues which might have, which Kasibante might have brought out that we need to look at, even when the case, he has withdrawn the case. But there must be some issues which we can look at as Uganda and see how our elections can be better. And I would also like to tell Nini Yusuf that PLOU, don't demean people, because when you say the Kabanda is the what? Kabanda is a member of parliament. No, you should respect him.
Minister, what's the minister's name? Minister of ICT. We had
his senior colleague.
Your senior colleague.
Dr. Chris Bariomusi.
Taught us how to think about Kabanda.
But anyway,
you should also not think about
since
him like
the minister
that.
And
You should
Kabanda
take your
here,
own, and they are not here.
That line.
And it's not good really to bring people in such a discussion.
All right, let's bring in Nancy. Let's bring in Nancy and then go to Yusuf. Nancy, very quickly on this part.
I would just like to say that structural inequalities shape how democracy works, and especially the access to justice. And we've already said that the laws in this country are not working. So when we come to this panel and start citing laws, honestly, it leaves me blank, because the laws are not existing, they're not working. Even the bar-bench relationship is just not working. The Uganda Law Society and the judiciary are not working in sync. The Uganda Law Society has over and over again accused the judiciary of intimidating lawyers, of being biased, and of not administering justice to the people of Uganda. They do not even follow the procedure requirements. That is the bar, the head of law, the institution that brings together lawyers in Uganda. And even this very year, at the opening of the rule of law, of the new rule of law year, the Uganda Law Society was not invited. And so they held a parallel event from the judiciary. So for me, when we're discussing this, we need to benchmark it on the realities. Political parties have not been able to organize in the past 5 years. Whenever they do, they round them up and they're in prison. According to statistics, in this election period alone, more than 3,000 people, and that is on only those they can account for, have been detained and arrested. So for me, when we talk about the laws when they are not functioning, it just does not hit home at all.
All right, Yusuf, very quickly.
I mean, just a quick point. We love to bury our heads in the sand. It's a quick point, and I want to stress with all honesty, and I mean well for Mr. Museveni. I've famously written that we should never wish Mr. Museveni sudden death, because that would be so much danger for this country. But, Honourable Minister, age is a factor of life. I'm a Muslim. In Islamic tradition, after you clock 75, you're advised to start preparing for the grave. Once you clock 75, it's in the Islamic tradition, it's clear. Even Mungeru Zavaganda, Mungeru Zavakunju, there are so many talking about old age, how
we are discussing in English.
Because I wanted to make this very vivid for the minister, that we should bury our heads in this.
The minister is a conjo.
You want me to turn to a conjo?
What I'm saying, he might not be picking what you're saying.
I'm not picking what you say.
And Anderson, it is, as Dr. Ujambo pointed out, we are looking at a crisis of very magnanimous proportions, of immense proportions, if we keep to bury our heads in the sand and pretend that there's no core factor looking at us.
All right.
That the leader of the opposition in Kenya died at a medical facility. He had every resource available to take care of him. He was at a medical facility when calamity struck. And I'm telling you, age is a factor, that the older you become, Shakespeare writes about age. The Bakonjo traditions write about age as a thing that has no cure. So, if a country has put all its weight on the shoulders of an 80-year-old man, we are not being fair to him, And we're not being fair to ourselves. In fact, for me, who is asking him to...
What if you die before you?
No, it's possible. It's possible, 100%. It's possible. It's 100% possible.
All right.
I'm just saying that facts are remaining constant. Age is a quark of... Anderson, I want to say this.
Very quickly,
It seems to me, I am more honest and more generous to Mr. Museveni than his ministers. Because I'm saying, Mr. Museveni, at your age of 80, we can give you a peaceful retirement. In rush to that, and you can give this country a chance. There were more
All right.
for
Thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma. Let's bring in Dr. Jambo. Your quick last thoughts on this particular topic before we move on to our next discussion.
Anderson, I just want to remind listeners that the trouble with our country and all of us is that we don't value history. We don't value history, and we don't want to learn from history. History teaches in a very hostile way. And he just talked about Somalia. Remember Somalia, when Bill Clinton was looking at some of the leaders who are very good, he used to tell people about the president of Eritrea, the president of Uganda, the president of Rwanda, and he called it the new breed of Africa.
African reader.
And today, I don't know if Clinton came back to Africa would say the same because of what happened in Somalia. Siad Barre was one of the very powerful leader. He was a messianic type of person. But when this man got problems, the country now, I don't know how many, we don't know which Somalia. In fact, I wanted to ask him which Somalia you're talking about, because there are very many Somalias, and even where you think there is Somalia, you don't know. But that's why our sons and daughters have kept a long time in Somalia. They have not gone there for a tour. They have not gone there to. So we don't want such things to happen here. And you see, when somebody is talking about fair elections, I've always described the elections in Uganda, to use Mao's words, because for us we are academics. Mao described when he was still Mao, before he became maybe this other thing, he used to say that elections in Uganda are like a swimming competition, where you have competitors. One competitor is putting on these frog things for frog fins, and he's well dressed in a swimming costume,
amphibian costume.
And he has glasses, and even have guides to guide him so that he does not go off the line. And his colleagues are dressed in an overall with the gumboot and this hardy helmet. And when they dive in water, because of the gumboots, they take in a lot of water, and the overall, they keep drowning. In fact, you drown immediately. And then the other fin guy swims off and says, you see, these ones have not prepared themselves very well. You see, I have defeated them. They should have known that swimming is very serious. And at the end of the day, the people watching, if they have any iota of reason, they will know, okay, this was a swimming, but I think it was something that was destined for this person to win. African leaders organize elections which can only be won by themselves, with the exception of one country in Africa, Zambia. That's where we have had a history of incumbents. And now Malawi. The rest, Mubarak used to get 98.
Even in Botswana.
Botswana incumbent has not lost. He didn't lose. He just he left. This man in Sudan used to win 80%. The man in Libya, for him, he did not believe in election. He did not believe in elections. He said, this is rubbish, I don't want them. In many of these places, Mobutu Sese Seko here said, I don't want elections. So in Africa, if you see any courageous leader who organizes an election, he has organized an election which he can win. And he makes sure that all the apparatus that run the state are in his hands. The Electoral Commission. Like, for example, I have challenged the chairman Electoral Commission of Independent Electoral Commission of Uganda. Was he really in charge of elections? And if so, let him give us that statistics that Nancy was asking for. Let him give it to us. So